Thanks, Ethan, and welcome everyone to today's presentation. I'm going to talk to you, obviously, about the digital transformation program that we offer at the University of Waterloo. Before I do that, I'm going to talk a bit more broadly about digital transformation itself, and I hope provide some understanding, some knowledge that may be useful for you, even if you don't choose to pursue the digital transformation program itself. We're living, I think, in very interesting times at the moment, very fascinating, and at the same time, to some degree, uncertain times as the world changes very, very quickly. I'm going to talk in my presentation. Just one second, my slide wasn't changing, but I think it will now. There we go. I'm going to talk in my presentation about one factor as far as the change we're experiencing today is concerned. I'm going to talk about what we know as the fourth industrial revolution, which really is the context for digital transformation, the way that the world is changing today. But of course, there are many other changes that we're seeing, particularly around climate change and in terms of international relations, which are causing us all to perhaps be a bit less secure in our lives, secure in our organizations. And what we've tried to do with our work on digital transformation at the University of Waterloo is to develop support, to provide guidance, to provide courses and research that enable people to deal with the challenges that they're facing in their organizations and in their lives today, particularly those that have been created by the rapid development of information-based technologies. So I'm going to talk about that today. These are the topics that I'm going to cover. The fourth industrial revolution, as I've mentioned. I'm going to talk about what is digital transformation. This is a question that I get very frequently. People say, well, we talk about this, but what does it really mean? I'm going to tell you what I think it means, and we can discuss that if you wish. I'm going to talk about the challenges that we face as far as digital transformation is concerned. Most organizations face a lot of challenges in implementing successful technology-based change. We understand that at Waterloo. We've done a lot of work to try to understand what the main challenges are and how those may be effectively addressed. And it's that research that we've based our digital transformation online certificate program on. It's basically intended to enable people to be more successful where those challenges are concerned and to increase the probability that technology-based change will be successful. So that's what I'm going to do today inside my presentation. The starting point for this is what we call the fourth industrial revolution. That is a term that was coined by the World Economic Forum in 2016, so a few years ago now. But what it's really intended to do is to indicate the scale of the change that is taking place in our world today, primarily as a result of technology, but also influenced by other factors. And the quotes that I've highlighted in their statement, the areas that are shaded in yellow, really, I think, draw attention to the extent of the change that is happening in the world today and which organizations are now trying to deal with. The first quote, the speed, breadth, and depth of this revolution is forcing us to rethink how countries develop, how organizations create value, and even what it means to be human. Really, I think, draws attention to the extent of the change. This question about what it means to be human has got to the point now where people are modifying their appearance, as one example of the challenge that it provides to what it means to be human, but altering their appearance because of their use of social media. Really fundamental human things being impacted here. The second quote, the real opportunity is to look beyond the technology and find ways to give the greatest number of people the ability to positively impact their families, organizations, and communities, indicates what we should want to do with technology. It provides a huge opportunity to provide huge benefits for humankind, and really is all of our jobs to try to ensure that the outcomes from technology are positive, and that we minimize and hopefully eliminate the negative impacts that there are many concerns about today. This slide is perhaps a little bit complex, but what I wanted to do was to take a second to look back at the first industrial revolution. Don't worry, I'm not going to provide a long lecture, historical lecture about how we got to where we are today. But I did want to take a quick look at the first industrial revolution. At that time, there were many areas of society that were fundamentally changed. So often when we think about the first industrial revolution, we think about mechanization, we think about the invention of knitting machines or and things like that. But what we often look at a little bit less is the impact more broadly on society as a whole, which really allows the Industrial Revolution to be referred to as a revolution that was way beyond technology. In the left-hand side of this screen, you can see in the top left corner, that is, in case you didn't recognize it, a painting that represents the UK Parliament. But basically at that time, as the revolution, the first industrial revolution happened, we saw substantial changes in the power structures in society. Before the first industrial revolution, we had landowners basically having most of the power at a national level. And the industrial revolution sowed the seeds for the democratic systems that would come after that. That was where democracy began. It took many years for it to achieve the form that we have it in today. But the system of government was fundamentally altered by the first industrial revolution. So too was trade. Countries didn't trade very much with each other before the first industrial revolution. By the end of it, there was a lot of trade. Polarization of wealth increased during the first industrial revolution, and concerns about the conditions of workers. At first, they were very bad. Over time, they improved. But people moved from jobs in the countryside to live in cities, which previously had been quite small. Now, for example, the city of Manchester in England grew tenfold over the course of about 30 years. So people moved away from the countryside where most people had lived and moved into cities. There was a huge change in society at that time. The family unit changed, whereas when people lived in the country, they would be working near their house. The family would be together most of the time. During the first industrial revolution, that changed. The people went out to work in factories and elsewhere. The family was much more divided, and the nature of the family unit changed. We can see similar things happening today. The top left picture on the right-hand side of the chart shows some of the strife that we're experiencing in the American democratic system and in democratic systems around the world. We don't know if democracy will continue to exist. There is a conflict now, a debate over the appropriateness of democracy for society after the fourth industrial revolution. Free trade is being challenged. We're seeing a rise of protectionism. We're seeing extensive debate about the role of international trade, the nature of it, and what it might look like in the future. There is societal discontent, which we see in a couple of these slides. The retail sector is changing fundamentally, as we see with Shopify. People are working at home more than work. Many people are working at home much more than they did before. The nature of work is changing, and concerns about the wellness of individuals. Since during COVID and since, we have continued to increase the emphasis that organizations and individuals place on wellness. Increased concerns have arisen about our mental wellness, and that has also been attributed, many of the factors that are influencing that are attributed to the changes that we're seeing in technology. So the changes that we're seeing today are revolutionary, they're society-wide, and this statement on the 12th of August from Oliver Dowden, the UK Deputy Prime Minister, really summarizes the change that the world is going through. He says it's a total revolution that's coming, totally transforms almost all the elements of life, and will do over the coming years and indeed even months. He says it's much faster than other revolutions we've seen and much more extensive, whether that's the invention of the internal combustion engine or the Industrial Revolution. So this individual, the UK Deputy Prime Minister, is basically saying that the period of change we're going through now is greater than that we went through in the first Industrial Revolution. And that basically means that the change is extremely big, and organizations need to respond to that. So this slide is my definition of digital transformation. I believe that it is basically the response that organizations are making to the fourth industrial revolution, usually involving technological change, but always with human and organizational change. So I think we should encompass the intention with this last part of this statement is that it emphasizes that digital transformation may be something that involves a heavy emphasis on technological change, but not necessarily. It's the impact on people and their organizations may not necessarily be directly technical, even though it has a technology origin. So that, I think, is what we mean by digital transformation. As organizations consider their own digital transformation, they face a number of very, very challenging choices. A significant challenge that they face is that as they look at how they might respond to the way that the world is changing, they have a very large number of choices that they can make. So this slide illustrates that there are multiple technologies and there are multiple ways that those can be used. Today, we see a very strong emphasis on artificial intelligence, but of course, there are many other technologies that are considered when we think about the changes that organizations might make. Robotics, the Internet of Things, mobile technologies, additive manufacturing or 3D printing, blockchain, data analytics, the use of the cloud, augmented reality, process automation, digital twins. These are just some of the technologies that are available. And for an organization that is considering the response they feel is appropriate for them, as they look out, there is this often bewildering selection of possible technologies they may apply. Alongside that, there are the areas in which they might apply those technologies. This slide illustrates the range of choices or the range of areas in which those technologies may be applied. We can see the that these range from the customer experience, the relationships that organizations are having with their customers, the impact on their products and services, the development of new products and services, new markets, the development of their technology, increased cost savings, reskilling of their workforce, and working within their supply chain and with their partners. So basically, we have a wide range of technological possibilities and a wide range of possibilities for how those may be applied. This is perhaps summarized in this next slide with the different areas in which technology may have an impact. Again, products and services, the processes that are used by an organization, the relationships with their customers, their business models, the fundamentals of how they do business, their ecosystems, the people they do business with and that are involved in the development and delivery of their products and services, or other areas. So organizations face this challenge. They're looking at the world as it is changing today, as we know it as the fourth industrial revolution. They see a wide range of possibilities as far as what they might do with technology, how they might invest the limited resources that they have, and they want to make the changes that are best for their business. 87% of businesses see digital transformation. DX is an abbreviation for digital transformation. 87% of businesses see digital transformation as a priority. Their spending in 2026, according to IDC, a technology research company, their spending is going to be 3.4 trillion. Even if that's not an accurate number, we know the number will be very, very large. And according to the Harvard Business Review in September of 2022, 70 to 95% of digital transformation activity fails inside organizations. Now, the number I would usually use here would be 70%. That is the number that McKinsey use as their estimation of the number of digital transformation projects that fail. That number is confirmed. A similar number has been found by many other research organizations too. So we do know that digital transformation usually fails. 70%, I think, allows us to say quite legitimately that they usually fails. And this is a serious problem as far as organizations are concerned. In order to address that problem, we have undertaken research at Waterloo. We went out and looked at all of the stuff, or not all necessarily. I can't be sure that we saw all of them, but we tried to look at all the main studies which had been undertaken around technological change inside organizations and what the main challenges were that organizations faced. You can see them summarized on this slide, and they fall in 4 areas. First of all, people and culture, the employee response, our employees supporting change or resisting it. Is the culture appropriate? Workforce skills are a major problem for most organizations that are engaging in technological change. Simply having the people who can both implement the change and then perform the roles that are necessary after that implementation. So people and culture is important. Technology and process integration. Integration with legacy technologies is a difficulty in many organizations, and integrating IT and operations. In the past, the information technologies were looked after by an information technology department. Now, the operation of those technologies is much more the responsibility of the operations part of the organization, and having these two parts work together to make that work effectively has been a challenge for many. Innovation, very, very important in an era of the fourth industrial revolution. and to support digital transformation. Many organizations struggling to do this today, wanting to become more innovative, but not at all satisfied with their ability to do that. Privacy, security, and regulatory requirements. These are changing very, very quickly today. We've seen a lot of discussion recently around the regulation of artificial intelligence, but of course, regulatory aspects of technology are reaching into many areas today, and being conscious of that and including it in your digital transformation strategy and how you're going to use technology is going to be important. So this is our categorization of the challenges that organizations face as far as their digital transformation is concerned. This categorization is supported by the data that exists on these aspects too. Here are some statistics that basically, I think, justify our categorization. 62% of organizations see culture as a top hurdle. This is something that I think most people probably recognize. 70% of digital transformations fail due to employee resistance. 79% say legacy applications that I referred to a moment ago are hindering digital transformation. 75% of executives say that that the various parts of the organization don't work very well together. They compete with each other rather than collaborating on the change that is needed. Silos in organizations are what that is really referring to. 75% of workers don't feel equipped to learn the digital skills that they need now. This is a fascinating statistic to me, and I'm very, very concerned by it. The statement is a little bit unclear. It says that workers don't feel equipped to learn the digital skills they need now. What we don't know is whether that means, do they think they will never be able to learn those skills, no matter what support might be provided? Or does this mean that we are able, that if we do organize the appropriate training, approach this problem in a good way, that we'll be able to overcome it? But certainly, many workers are concerned about the impact that digital change will have on their skills, on their standards of work, the quality of their life, and helping them change is going to be extremely important. And this really indicates the extent of the challenge which is faced here. 84% of executives think innovation is important. I referred to innovation a few moments ago, but only 6% are satisfied with innovation performance. This really indicates the magnitude of the challenge we face in moving from organizations that are largely focused today on doing the same thing tomorrow that we did today in a reliable, repeatable way, and the extent to which that is difficult to change in a direction that says we will try to do things better and try to innovate on a regular basis. Organizations want to do this, as this statistic shows, but very few are satisfied with what they've been able to do on that so far. 76% of global consumers believe companies need to do more to protect data privacy. I've wanted to include this, particularly to refer to the importance of the regulatory aspects of digital transformation change that you may be making. Particularly today with artificial intelligence, there are substantial concerns about the gathering and use of data and the likelihood that there will be further regulation that will damage some organizations that don't adequately take this into account in their plans for their use of artificial intelligence. Okay, just further, I probably don't need to further reinforce the points that I'm making, but these headlines, don't worry, I'm not going to read through all of them. But these illustrate that the topics that I've referred to in the previous two slides as being the challenges that organizations face in digital transformation, these are very much in the minds of organizations. These are headlines from media in the recent past, and they basically confirm each of the areas that I referred to earlier. These are real problems that organizations are addressing. Now, it's very important that as we consider becoming more successful at digital transformation in organizations, that we go into this with our eyes open. So it's not my intention to really simply to say that the position on digital transformation in organizations today is a very negative one. It's not all negative. There is a lot of successful activity. And I think that if we do go into digital transformation with our eyes open, it's possible to be a lot more successful than we are today. But I think it's also important to challenge the messages that are often that we often hear about the use of technology, the introduction of technology in organizations, those messages which say that this is relatively straightforward. The technology companies would often hope that we would believe that. And of course, all of the evidence says that that's not true, and that we really need to take a more careful, a more thoughtful approach to the introduction of digital change. Why is this important? One of the main reasons that becoming better at digital transformation is important is that it will, of course, determine which organizations will survive in the future. It'll say, and it will determine the countries that are more successful at this will be the ones that are more prosperous in the future. They will be the countries that are able to provide better jobs, better standards of living, better lives for their citizens. And that's why the Canadian government, the Ontario government, and governments around the world are prioritizing digital transformation. They're providing funding to try and help organizations change. They're supporting training work from people like universities. But basically, it's understood that becoming more successful with digital transformation isn't simply about an individual organization. This is about the quality of life of people within a country. And we really do need to get it right. So the slides, the first part of my presentation has really described the background to our digital transformation certificate. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about the certificate itself, the 8-week online program that we offer from the University of Waterloo, and which, of course, you can take from anywhere in the world, and people have. If you do have any questions, I don't see anything in the chat so far. If you've got anything that you'd like to intervene about, if you'd like to ask something, if there's any aspects of anything I'm presenting that you would like to discuss, feel free to do that. So these are the topics that we cover inside our digital transformation certificate. Our objective with the certificate is to give the participants the confidence to proceed with their own digital transformation, to develop the strategies and the detail of what they're going to do with digital transformation, and to have the confidence to move forward with it. One of the major challenges that we face with digital transformation is that the statistics tell us that most organizations will go a little way with their digital transformation activity and then stall. Most organizations do this. They'll implement in one area of the organization, and then they'll pause because they're uncertain about how to proceed beyond that point. Our objective with our certificate isn't simply to help you understand digital transformation itself, but rather is to give you the confidence to do it. So I'm going to tell you how we do that in the design of the program. But I want first to tell you about the 8 weeks of topics that we cover. So we start with an understanding of the fourth industrial revolution, the extent of the change which is impacting the world, and the context of your digital transformation. Next, we look at what digital transformation might mean for your organization. What are the things that your organization might want to do? We look here particularly in week 2 at what the range of possibilities are and how you can select from those possibilities to focus your attention. In the 3rd week, we look at the new technologies themselves. So it's very important you understand that the certificate program is not a technical program. We're not teaching you about how the technologies work or about how to do coding or anything like that. But what we do in week 3 is provide an overview of the common technologies, provide examples of how those might be applied, with the intention that you gain some level of confidence that as you're looking at the technologies, you're aware of the possibilities as far as these technologies are concerned. In week 4, we look at transformation in practice. As part of our development of the program, we've spoken to individuals who have been involved in digital transformation in their own organizations, and we've interviewed them so that they can share their knowledge with you. What we're trying to do in week 4 is really give you a practical understanding of what the reality of digital transformation is. From week 5 onwards, we start to help you develop your own plans for what you might do with digital transformation in your organization. And we provide you with tools and techniques which will help you to do that. So in week 5, we begin at a high level by helping you develop your own digital transformation vision. In week 6, we develop the detail of that with your transformation roadmap and schedule for the implementation of your transformation. Then in week 7, we look at the implementation challenges and how those can be overcome. And then in week 8, we address this challenge of innovation and continuous improvement. Altogether, these make up our digital transformation certificate. If you complete the program successfully, you get a nice certificate like the one on the right-hand side of the screen. This slide summarizes the things you'll learn. I'll go through this quite quickly. You'll think about the impact that technology might have on your career. You'll look at identifying opportunities for the use of technology in your organization. We'll look at the common challenges, as I've already referred to. Important you understand that our approach to digital transformation is one that integrates the technical, human, and organizational aspects of digital change. We have to do that. Obviously, technological change isn't just about the technical things. Develop a comprehensive plan to guide your own transformation, as I've said. Look at the solutions to roadblocks. Utilize practical tools and techniques. We use some popular tools which have been around for a while, as well as tools that we have developed specifically for this program, and which you will be some of the first people to use. Develop your skills in digital literacy for building the business case for your organization. I mentioned that we had developed the program we had developed a program that would give you the confidence to be able to implement it in your organization. I'm going to talk about in a minute about how we do that. But I see Amy, welcome to the presentation. You have contributed to the chat, and you've said, good to hear the breakdown and timing of the curriculum. Is this breakdown available somewhere? I believe it's on the website for the course, Amy. I don't know if that, I see Ethan has shared that with you. So that's where you can get it. And what I should say, Amy, is if you, after you've looked at that, if you have further questions about it, I'm very happy for you to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to respond to any those questions you might have. Alex, I see you're saying potentially silly question. There are no silly questions. How digitally literate must one be to successfully complete the certificate and to succeed in implementing this in one's organization? This is a really interesting question, I think, Alex. I don't think digital literacy is the most important thing. To be able to complete the program, you do not need to be digitally literate. It's intended that as people proceed through the program, we're increasing the level of familiarity that you might have with technology. But the important thing with digital transformation is that your understanding of technology, I think you do need to have a reasonable basic understanding. But what is almost more important, or at least as perhaps more important than that, is your ability to integrate the many aspects that it's necessary to have happen successfully for digital change to be successful inside an organization. So my answer to you, I think, is you don't need to have a high level of digital literacy to complete the program. And I also don't think you have to have one to be successful in implementing it in an organization. To have a good basic understanding, yes, I think it's necessary to have that. But I think a high level of literacy is not what's critical. Okay, so I mentioned that that the design of the program is intended to increase your ability to do what we're teaching you inside your own organization, and we do that in the ways that are listed here. First of all, there is uniquely, as far as we know, a consultancy aspect to the program as part of your registration in the program. You get a free hour of consultancy where I engage one-on-one with you or with a group of people in your organization and discuss any aspect of the changes that you are that you are wishing to make, or any challenges that you may be facing. Of course, beyond that, there is engagement with me during the program. There is a weekly live session with breakout discussions where we focus on topics that have arisen as we've proceeded through the program. These are quite enjoyable. I'll show you a picture of that in a moment. There is weekly assessed work. Each week you are engaging in activities that apply the knowledge which you're learning in the course, and which are assessed and you receive feedback on. Phil, you're asking, nice to see you, Phil. Would there be value in having managers or executives from various levels of government acquiring this certification? I certainly think so, Phil. We've had a number of people from the federal government and elsewhere participate in the program before, including the Canadian military, which spurred some very interesting discussions. So yes, I think it would be the answer that I would give you there, Phil. Okay, so there is the weekly assessed work. There's weekly asynchronous discussions. So throughout the week, each week there is a discussion forum that is focused on the work that people are doing that week. We have the industry case studies, which I'll show you a little bit more about in a moment, and which I referred to earlier. You have your workplace application assignments. So the work that you do in the program is shared with your peers. And so you're able to develop a good understanding of the range of ways in which the tools and techniques that are introduced in the program can be used in different organizations. There's a final integration project. You have a large project that is submitted at the end of the program that integrates the learning that you've gained inside the course. Many possibilities about what that project might look like. We're quite flexible about that, as long as it is applying the knowledge which you learn. So the objective, again, is to develop your own transformation confidence. And you'll see that Ethan has posted in the chat that the live sessions are from 12 till 1 every Friday. He says it's advised that you attend, which of course it is, but they are recorded. So if you can't attend, then you don't have to. This is a picture. I love this picture just partly because of how smiling everyone is in the picture. But this is a screen from our weekly session on a Friday where people are discussing the topics of the course. So that happens every Friday. I mentioned the industry case studies. These are some of the case studies that we have included in the program at the moment. They cover a wide range of industries, from construction to manufacturing to consulting, to retail to finance to government. And this is just the selection of the case studies. These are growing on a regular basis. I should mention mining. Laura, whose video you can see in the top right there, is from the mining sector, so that also is included. We've obviously sought to include as wide a range of industries as possible, and this we continue to expand. I mentioned tools and techniques, and I said that within the program, we introduce you to some tools and techniques that support digital transformation, that have existed for a while, that have been used in change in organizations, not necessarily of a technical nature, but also of other strategic change of one kind or another. But we've also developed our own tools and techniques that we feel enable you to be more effective in your own digital transformation activity. These are some examples of these that are on your screen now. Basically, tools and templates that simplify and structure the work that you're going to be doing on your own digital transformation. This is an example of 1 week of the program. It is the development of your digital transformation roadmap. In that week of the course, I think this is week 6, we begin by talking about the design process, the process of creating your roadmap. We talk about the different elements that roadmap might include. We have a tool for helping you develop the roadmap called the roadmap milestone matrix, which we developed ourselves. We look at different approaches to implementation. We consider the predictive and agile approaches of managing projects, particularly. Those are introduced. I'm certainly not claiming that we're preparing you to be a project manager. We talk about the importance of integration and how you're going to integrate the various elements of your roadmap, of the activities that you're engaging in for digital transformation. We introduced something there again, which was developed for the program, called the Digital Transformation Integration Analysis Matrix. Nothing like as complicated as its title. We talk about managing implementation. We refer to an example case study, which is provided, and then you have an exercise to apply this in your own organization. And you can use your own organization as the basis for your assignments in the program, or you can use an organization that you know well. Okay, the next thing I want to mention is the digital transformation simulation. You're given access to this as part of your work inside the program. I'll share a link to it with you during the course. But this is a simulation that we developed at Waterloo, which I developed. It's a simulation based on a brake pad factory, but still, I think, relevant in other sectors. But it basically looks at the digital transformation process and considers some important aspects of that. So this is included as part of the work that you do in the program. I'd like to finish the formal part of the presentation by perhaps giving you some further resources that you may wish to look at, whether or not you choose to proceed with the program. These are some articles. These are part of a series of articles that I've been writing for engineering.com. This is a website that is focused on engineering, but the articles are not just intended for an engineering audience. They cover various aspects of digital transformation. They appear on a monthly basis, and these are things that you may wish to take a look at if you want to explore digital transformation further. I actually just submitted another article to them this morning. Okay, so I think that is the conclusion of my presentation, but we now have, I think, 10 minutes for questions, and if you were very keen to talk further, I'm sure we could go a little bit longer.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peter. So as he has mentioned, we're now entering the Q&A section of this info session. If anyone at any point wants to take their microphone off mute and just verbally ask their question, feel free to do so. Or if you want to just keep posting in the chat, that would also be completely fine. So Peter, I'll kick us off with two questions here in the chat that we still have pending. One of them is, what industry or industries does the program focus on the most, whether it be manufacturing, construction, financial, or anything of that nature?
I'm sorry, I missed some of these that appeared lower down. I was scrolled higher up. We've deliberately designed the program to focus on a range of sectors. You may have noticed that in the content that I was able to show you. So in the course content, we use examples from a wide range of sectors. So I wouldn't say that it specifically focuses any more on one sector than another. That, I think, is the most accurate answer that I could give you.
Okay, great. On one of the slides, you had displayed some of those case studies that you cover in the course. Someone is wondering if those are available on YouTube for the public or if that is a course-specific material.
The video interviews that I think you're referring to are available on my YouTube channel. We have edited those for the course, so you have access to the whole video on the course, but we also have extracted clips and that allow you to focus your attention on the aspects that we think are important. You can go beyond that, of course, if you wish. But yes, they are on my YouTube channel, which you will be able to find on YouTube pretty easily, I think. But bear in mind that it is the full interview, and they can be quite long. They're usually between half an hour and an hour long.
All right, thanks for touching on that. I'm going to dive into some of the pre-submitted questions that we had from our registrants. So to any of you that did submit those, thank you very much for writing those in advance. Our first question that we have here is, how does one link digital transformation within a corporate strategy that they're taking back to their workplace?
How do you link it within your corporate strategy? We introduced that inside the program as we're considering the creation of the vision. So we talk about the process that is used in order to develop that strategy. So basically, the answer I'm giving you is that at the start of your consideration of digital transformation, it's important that you have a process that is enabling the participation of people throughout the organization in the initial vision that is created. So basically, to use a participative approach that consults very, very widely, and then uses a structured approach, which we introduce in the program. We use a SWOT approach, is one of the tools that is introduced there. Basically, is I think what is most important. And then as you build out the implementation of the vision that is created, ensuring that that participative approach is continued. That is the short answer, I think, to that question.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Peter. Someone did write that they wrote that they saw on our webpage that the certificate program offers one-on-one coaching or consulting, and they're wondering if you can share a bit more about what that entails.
Yeah, we included this element because we thought it might be useful to be able to give you direct help with the challenges that cause you the most concern with your digital transformation activity. And so we've said there'll be an hour's consultancy, and we've been very broad in terms of what that might be used for. So, for example, in the past, things that have been done with that have included one-on-one discussions with me, with the person who's taking the program around an aspect of their digital transformation activity. It's included sessions where I've met with a group of people from an organization and we've addressed a challenge. We've talked about an aspect of the transformation. I mean, those aspects may include things like how do you overcome employee resistance? What are the roles that managers might play? What sort of resources might be needed for different things? How do you evaluate different types of technology? Those are some of the things that would be discussed. But the important thing, I think, is that the intention of the hour is that it be used in the way that's most valuable to you. And I'm open to any suggestion that you might make. I'll try and help you address the challenge you face. And so far, I've been able to do that. I haven't had a challenge that we haven't been able to help with so far, but I won't say that will never happen.
Yeah, thanks for touching on that, Peter. We've seen people take advantage of this in some of the courses that we've already ran, and it's definitely a huge value add to have as part of the program. So it's good for people to know about that and to keep that in mind if it's something that they want to take advantage of while they're going through the certificate program. Phil, I see that you have mentioned that your pre-submitted question was answered. I don't actually have names as to who submitted them, but I'm going to assume based on your question that it was about the government or public sectors. So hopefully my guess is right. So we'll move on to the next one. Would you say, Peter, that this course is applicable to project managers? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think so. I think project managers have good project management skills usually that will be very useful in digital transformation. But that's only part, obviously, of digital transformation itself. And for a project manager to be able to do that effectively, I think the knowledge that we have inside the program, the tools and techniques that are used to support it, are going to be valuable and necessary for you to be able to manage digital transformation effectively? So the simple answer is yes to that question.
Great. So we've got one more question, and we will end on this one. I think it's a good note to end on. Peter, what are the main pillars of digital transformation that you believe an organization or company should focus on?
What an interesting question. I mean, really, I guess my understanding of the question is, what are the main things that are important as far as digital transformation is concerned? The first thing I think that's important, and the reason I started with this at the beginning of the presentation, is to understand the radical period that we're going through just now and just how big the change is that an organization needs to make to then understand that organizations are not mainly designed at the moment for the change that you're trying to make. Once you understand that the change is big, that the organization is not was not intended to be able to do this, that I think helps you to think about digital transformation in a different way. It lets you understand that what you're trying to do is very fundamental as far as the organization goes, and will require a huge effort from everyone across the organization. And once you understand that, I think it makes you look at it in a very different way. When you also talk about pillars, what you might also consider is that digital transformation, of course, is not simply implementing a technological change. You're not introducing a new operating system. You're not simply installing a new customer relationship system. You're not installing robots. That's only a very small part of what you're trying to do with digital transformation. Clearly, all the changes that are necessary to make that change successful, include all of the things you've got to do with people, with the culture of the organization, and with the structure of the organization itself. It's a much bigger thing, and very important that that's understood. I don't know if that answers your question, but that was my thoughts on the subject.
Yeah, that's great. And you just mentioned at the end of that about culture, and we did get one more question in the chat revolving around that. So they shared a headline that they found was a bit worrisome, and they said, is it valid to make the assumption that digital transformation is dependent on an organization's culture, and wondering if the program dives in or focuses on organizational culture and that side of things when considering digital transformation?
Yes. Yes to both questions. So yes, I think culture is extremely important. It's critical. An inappropriate culture is never going to be successful with digital transformation. The organization has to be much more open to change, and all of the things that go with that when we talk about the culture that's necessary. Do we cover that inside the program? Yes, it's included in what we cover.
Awesome. Well, I think that concludes our session today. So thank you very much for everything, Peter, and thanks everybody for all the questions that you've contributed. I've put in the chat there another reminder of the link as to where you can find our program's landing page, but just want to reiterate that this program is next starting on October 13th, and we do have registration live for this course. If you enjoyed this info session, the recording will be distributed. So if you have a friend or a colleague in mind that you think would also enjoy it, please feel free to share it with them. And if you or if anyone that you share it with has any questions, you can always reach out to us at Wattspeed via phone or email, and we would be happy to assist you with any questions that you have. So once again, thank you everybody for attending today, and we look forward to seeing you on October 13th. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.